go ahead and jump into this then. We're meeting today to have a little bit of an interview with one of my students, Ryan Prado. And how long have you been a student here at Ivy Tech?
It's been off and on. I first started when I graduated high school back in '99, but when I got out of the military in 2008, I started back up full-time again in 2009. So I went a full year in 2009, and then I had to go to Afghanistan in 2010. And then I started back up in 2012, and I should be done this summer.
And we're excited for you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. That getting a little more into your background and stuff, what military service were you in?
The Air Force.
And you still end up going to Afghanistan.
Yep.
So, I mean, just because you get in the Air Force doesn't mean you don't get sent around the world.
Nope. Depending on your job in the Air Force, you could go every 6 months.
Wow.
Based on active duty right now.
Man. What was your, what we call MOS in the Army? What do you call it?
AFSC.
Okay.
I'm an electrician.
Oh, okay. So it didn't really have anything to do with security or military, police, or anything like that?
No, but being in CE, an electrician in CE, we got combat skills training. About a month of that before we go, and then of course we're always trained in M16 and
yeah, everybody gets the basic kind of training on weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So not to get off the subject, but what was your experience like in Afghanistan?
We basically went around to the smaller bases to make sure they had what they needed as far as infrastructure, electrical, plumbing, structure.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd write up a report, and we'd have a team go in after us and do the repairs if needed.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of traveling all over.
Wow. Any IEDs or problems like that? Or?
No, I didn't, but another team that I was with, they took fire and returned fire and stuff like that, so they saw some stuff.
Yeah. Well, hey, glad to have you with us, and appreciate your military service. I always like to share that. And I was in the military, as you know, but it was a kind of a joke, really. I just hid in the woods every summer. And, but that's just the times, you know. I mean, it's just depending on what happens, you know. Other people that I knew from some of my experience had been to Vietnam, even from the National Guard and stuff. So it just depends on who you are and where you are and what they need at the time, you know.
Yep.
So basically, a big reason for us getting together today is you did get a job in law enforcement. You're actually a patrolman now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about what led up to that. Had you worked at all in anything other than the military?
No. When I got out, I kind of tried to do civilian work, and it just didn't work out for me. I like more of structure and helping people, and so being a police officer just seemed like a good fit for me.
Yeah. Well, the interview process, did you run into problems as far as finding places that were looking, or how did that go?
When I first started looking in 2008, there was a lot of departments that were hiring. It's just real competitive. You got to test high in the physical test and the written test. You have to present yourself well in the interview, and it's kind of luck of the draw, really. I mean, there's so many applicants that apply. You just got to make yourself stand out.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: Did you have more than one job offer, or just the one?
Just the one. As soon as I got it, I took it.
By the time you went to look for a law enforcement job, had you had any classes in criminal justice?
Yeah, I had about half my associates done.
You think that helped at all?
I think it was more of the military.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't in security forces or police officer, just being in the military shows that you can follow directions and take orders and not talk back and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's good for everybody really to have, and I think it's good to give of yourself in some way like that.
Yeah.
But I think the discipline's important too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you got through that part. Then, of course, you had to go to the academy. What was the academy like?
It's 15 weeks. You live there during the week, Monday through Friday. You get up about 6, and you go down, you line up in formation, and you go march down to breakfast, and then you have class all day. Just depends on what the schedule is. They have 5 breakout weeks, which you do firearms, your physical tactics, you learn how to drive, just different stuff like that, and then you have your classroom stuff.
Yeah. Well, how does it compare in terms of the classroom stuff with the Ivy Tech classroom?
You kind of learn the same things in a condensed amount of time. So having a degree, of course you look good when you try to get hired, but you kind of learn that stuff over again in the academy. And then once you get into FTO.
And you got to explain what FTO
is.
It's
field training officer.
Okay.
You have a field training officer that rides with you based on your department and where you work.
Yeah.
Mine was 4 months.
Yeah.
You do 1 month with a different officer.
Yeah, in the military we called it OJT,
Yeah.
on the job training.
Similar to that.
Real similar.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that Ivy Tech is as good in terms of the practical, in terms of the people that did teach our classes?
Yeah, a lot of the instructors I've had were actually law enforcement officers, and they really know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Then there's me, and that's real hard to put a handle on that. But it's good contrast, I think, to not get the same story all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's what we try to do, is give you some contrast in styles and ideas and attitudes and stuff.
It
like
ranges from having probation officers as an instructor to actual law enforcement officers.
Yeah, it's good that way, I think. Well, I hope so. That's the model we've been following, and I'm just trying to see if that's working. And I know you're being frank with me, and I appreciate that. Moving on. What's the work like on the road?
It's a lot of patrol. You get to work. You have lineup. They tell you what district you're going to be in, what to look for, who we're looking for, just stuff like that. And then you just pretty much got to make contacts with people, whether it's pulling over people for doing infractions, or if you just see someone doing something that they shouldn't be doing, you got to stop them and ID them and make sure that they don't have a warrant or anything like that.
Yeah. Now, in your car, you have a computer in your car now?
Yeah, everyone usually has a computer. And the program we use, if we have a call that we get dispatched to, it comes up on our computer. It shows the address, what the type of call is, so we know a lot more information than what dispatch tells us.
Okay, so it gets into more detail?
A little bit.
How about hotspots type stuff, where you've had like domestic violence calls at the same house time after time after time?
We might try to do extra patrols. Just depends on our call load.
That doesn't show up on your computer, though.
No.
Yeah.
We kind of know what houses we get called to.
Yeah.
So if we get dispatched to that house, we kind of know what we're going to.
Now, looking at this from the Kansas City model that we looked at before, is this single car, single driver?
Yes.
And then so you guys, 2 cars meet up, right?
If it's a disturbance call, something that will use two people, yeah.
Okay. So you got one officer and a backup if you're going like to a house for a domestic violence type.
Right.
Thing.
If it's in my district, I'm pretty much the lead officer, and then the other guy's there to kind of help me and make sure that I have backup.
Yeah. On the hotspots thing, back to that for a second. Do you guys, when you set up the districts now, do you have some that are really thin that are in nicer parts of town, and then some that load up and have maybe 2-3 officers in that district?
If we have enough people on the shift, we'll load up. Like say downtown, or something like that.
Yeah.
But if it's a low call area, we'll just keep the one officer in that district.
And I know when I worked in that, with that department, they had these overlapping shifts.
Yeah.
Do they still have that? Or?
From first and seconds, it's not too big of an overlap, but when it comes to night shift, it's a pretty big overlap. So we have a lot more manpower.
So explain that a little bit so that the younger people would understand what we're talking about when we say overlapping.
Like second shift will stay on with third shift for, say, 4 or 5 hours, because nighttime is when a lot of the calls come.
Yeah.
Like fights, disturbance,
Yeah.
domestic disturbance, bar fights, just pretty much stuff that's going to need more than, say, even 2 officers.
Yeah. So they kind of end up actually, it's not, well, it's 3 to 11, 11 to 7. It can actually be like 3 to 2 or something like that.
Yeah, it's, well, on our department, it's 8:30 to 1. 8:30
Okay.
at night to 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Or it just switched back to midnight.
Okay.
So, but from 8:30 to midnight, we have 2 shifts on.
Okay. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about your uniform allowance and that type thing for just a little while. How does that work exactly?
When you first get hired, they give you everything you need: uniform, gear, everything you need to start out. And then once you get off probation, you get a yearly allowance so you can buy your own stuff. And it's more than enough, really.
Now, what about your unit, or is that what they call it now, or your vehicle?
Yeah, if you live in the county, you get a take-home car, and then they take out a certain amount every paycheck for your gas.
That's like from to and from home? Is that what the gas is for, you mean? Or?
Yeah, it's just for, you can use it in the whole county whenever you want.
Yeah, miscellaneous,
Yeah.
in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you live out of the county, is that right?
Right.
So that doesn't work for you then?
Unless you have a special duty, they'll look at how the department is with cars, and if they want to give you one, if you have special duty, you can get one.
Okay. And the vehicle itself, let's talk a little bit about it. It's equipment. Now, in the trunk, it's what all weapons and stuff are in the trunk?
If you are shotgun trained or rifle trained, you can put a rifle or shotgun in there. I carry a patrol bag, has everything I need in it. Also have my computer, fingerprint and dusting kits, a PBT, portable breath test. Just once you start doing the job, you learn what you need every day,
Yeah.
so you kind of get it.
Do you have like surgical gloves or masks or anything like that?
Yeah, we make sure that we have gloves on us in case someone's injured. We make sure that we put gloves on before we touch them.
Yeah.
We have CPR masks with
How about,
us.
do you have a little first aid kit or anything like that?
I have one. It's up to the officer to buy one.
Okay, that doesn't come with it.
No, I want to get a couple tourniquets, a chest shield, or a chest, the plastic that can cover a gunshot wound to the chest.
Yeah, yeah.
Those things are pretty good to have.
Yeah.
But just right now I have gauze and typical Band-Aids and stuff like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're going to find more often than anything.
Right.
I know some of the things we had as far as controversial, we had a HIV type situation where we had at least some information that the guy had AIDS or HIV or something like that. It caused some of the officers some concern.
You just never really know, so you want to make sure you protect yourself first.
You kind of got to be ready for any eventuality.
Right.
Is the big thing.
Yeah.
Well, so far, what do you think about it? How long you been working, and what's your overall?
It'll be 2 years in September. I think it's a great job. If you can stand the job, basically, if you're strong enough. I mean, it's tough at first. Just learning everything, the signals, how to do each job, being confrontational with people. If you can do all that, then it's great. I love it.
Yeah. I think you got the personality for it, honestly, knowing you, because you're pretty low key.
Yeah, you have to be able to control your temper and know how to talk to people, and you run across different types of people, and you have to kind of know how to control the situation. And,
right. I think you're good for that, as far as just what I've seen about you. Final thing I want to ask you about in terms of experienced officer versus a rookie officer, how did that work out for you?
until you kind of prove yourself, they don't really treat you as a rookie. I mean, they always call you rookie, but you're still part of the team or part of the family when you get hired. But until you kind of can prove yourself, they kind of keep their distance a little bit. But once you kind of prove that you can do it and they can depend on you, then you really become part of the family there, or whichever department. I mean, it's a great team to work with.
Good. Well, anything you want to add that I've kind of left out, or?
No, I mean, you just got to be able to communicate with people and be physically fit also, because the academy, you do a lot of physical training. You got to be mentally fit, be able to take some stressful situations. I've seen some gunshot wounds, you know, I've seen dead people, I've had to touch dead people. You just got to be able to handle all that and be aware that that stuff's going to happen, and you got to be ready for it.
Yeah. Okay, well, hey, appreciate you very much, and thanks for your service in the military and now in the police world.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll just shut this off then.